In this video, I'm going to show you how to sketch the graph of the polar equations using the web tool. One of the tools that I use a lot is desmos.com/calculator. For the input box here, you just type in the equation that you want to sketch the graph. For our example, part A is the graph of the r equals 1 minus cosine theta, theta. It comes up as the special character theta. And the theta by default will be set from 0 to 2 pi. And you can see the full graph of the 1 minus cosine shown here. Now, as you notice, the background is still in the XY coordinate system. You can change it to the polar system by clicking on the graph setting tools on the upper right corner. Click on that and then click on the second option under the grid to show the polar coordinate system. You can adjust the theta or the interval of theta to see the behavior of the graph. For example, you want to see what happens from 0 to pi, and you can see the graph that I have of the complete graph. When we did the work with the symmetry, this function has symmetry about the x-axis, and the graph explain that as well. When you graph the full revolution, the upper half is symmetry with respect to the x-axis to form the second half. Next, part B, we're gonna plot the graph of r equals 1 plus 2 times sine theta. So let's omit the first one and type in the second one. R equals 1 plus 2 times sine theta. And the graph is, now we can see it has symmetry about the y-axis. Again, if you want to look at the behavior of the graph, the trajectory of the graph, you can see portion by portion. For example, from 0 to pi over 2, what the portion of the graph going to be. And then if you increase from 0 to pi, it keeps going and go over to the left part of the plane. How about up until 3 pi over 2? So let's expect pi there. So the graph keep going in that manner for the full revolution. The full graph that has another portion tucked inside of the bigger portion. The next example, the equation is r equals 3 times sine of 2 theta. R equals 3 times sine, the parentheses, 2 times theta. Looks like flower. So from 0 to 2 pi, you get the full graph as the 4-leaf rose or the 4 petals. Now, if you look at the first portion from 0 to pi over 2, that's 1 leaf. Then from 0 to pi, another leaf added on top of it, but it appears on the right side of the plane. From 0 to 3 pi over 2, add another leaf or another petal. And next for the full graph, we have 4 leaves. If you look at one portion, for example, how about from 3 pi over 2 to 2 pi, you have the leaf that appears on the second quadrant. So you can investigate using the Desmos graph to help you understand better or see the trajectory of the graph of this polar equation. Another example, part D, the equation is r equals e to the power sine of theta minus 2 times sine of 4 theta. It looks like butterfly. It's very complicated to do it by hand. Then Desmos.com is one of the convenient tool to help you sketch the graph that you are looking for. So from 0 to 2 pi, we get the full figure like this. If you look for just a half, like from 0 until pi. And as you notice, this graph does not have symmetry with respect to x, with respect to y, or with respect to origin.